Just when you thought the rumors were over, Vance finally breaks his silence. Whispers, betrayal, and a name no one expected, Erika Kirk. Fans are shocked as emotions ran high behind closed doors, and what's revealed tonight could change everything you thought you knew. The night the silence broke did not begin with a press conference or a carefully worded statement but with a private room filled with tension where Vance sat staring at his phone as if it had betrayed him. Outside, rain tapped against the windows like impatient fingers, and inside, the weight of weeks of rumors pressed down on his chest. For months fans had speculated, whispered, argued online about Erika Kirk, a name that kept surfacing in comment sections and late-night group chats, but no one truly knew what had happened. JD had promised himself he would never let it spill into the open, yet that night something shifted. His jaw tightened, his hands shook, and he finally exhaled the truth he had been holding back. "I didn't plan for any of this," he said softly, almost to himself, and those words would later echo across the internet as fans were shocked and emotions ran high. Earlier that week, friends noticed something was wrong. JD canceled dinners, ignored calls, and skipped events he never missed. One longtime friend pulled him aside after a tense meeting and whispered, "People are talking, man. You can't keep pretending nothing's happening." JD snapped back, "You think I don't know that?" his voice cracking in a way that stunned everyone nearby. It wasn't anger alone, it was fear, the kind that comes when personal and public lives collide. Behind the scenes, messages from Erika Kirk sat unanswered, each one more urgent than the last. "We need to talk," one read. "This is getting out of control," said another. JD knew she was right, and that knowledge burned. Flashbacks haunted him as he paced his living room that night. He remembered the first time Erika entered his life, unexpected and disarming, with a laugh that cut through his usual guarded demeanor. She had been introduced as a friend of a friend, nothing more, nothing dangerous. At first, conversations were light, jokes about politics, family, the chaos of modern life. But slowly, lines blurred. Erika saw sides of JD no one else did, the exhaustion, the doubts, the pressure to be perfect. "You don't always have to be the strong one," she told him once, her voice calm but piercing. Those words lingered longer than they should have. As their connection deepened, so did the stakes. Jade's inner circle began to notice changes. Family dinners became tense, his spouse asking quietly, "Is there something you're not telling me?" He would shake his head, forcing a smile that fooled no one. The family was left divided, some sensing betrayal, others urging patience. "He's under a lot of pressure," one relative argued, while another shot back, "Pressure doesn't excuse secrecy." Emotions ran high around the table, forks clinking against plates as if punctuating every accusation. Meanwhile, Erika felt increasingly sidelined. She watched headlines swirl without her voice included, narratives forming that painted her as a villain or a phantom. Friends urged her to speak out. "If you don't tell your side, they'll write it for you," one warned. Erika hesitated, torn between loyalty and self-preservation. "I never wanted this to be public," she confided, tears welling up. "But I won't be erased either." Her frustration simmered, and with each passing day, the silence between her and JD grew louder. The breaking point came during a heated phone call late one night. "Are you ever going to stand up and say something?" Erika demanded, her voice shaking. JD responded with a weary sigh, "You don't understand what this could do." She shot back, "No, you don't understand what this is doing to me." The line went dead, and with it, whatever fragile balance they had maintained. Fans would later dissect that moment endlessly, unaware of how raw and real it truly was. By the time whispers reached the media, the story had already mutated. Accusations flew, betrayals were assumed, and everyone chose sides. Supporters flooded Jade's pages with messages of loyalty, while critics accused him of hiding the truth. Erika's name trended alongside his, and strangers debated her character as if they knew her. "This changes everything," one viral comment read, echoing the sentiment of thousands. JD watched it all unfold, feeling both exposed and misunderstood. Family pressure intensified. His spouse confronted him in private, voice trembling but firm. "I need to know if what they're saying is true," she said. JD struggled for words, caught between confession and defense. "It's not what they think," he insisted, though even he wasn't sure how convincing that sounded. Tears were shed, harsh words exchanged, and for the first time, the possibility of irreversible damage loomed. The family was left divided, each member grappling with their own version of the truth. As days turned into sleepless nights, JD realized that silence was no longer protection, it was a weapon turned against everyone involved. Fans were shocked by the intensity of the backlash, and even his closest allies urged him to take control of the narrative. Say something before it destroys you, one advisor warned. JD knew that opening up would unleash consequences he could not predict, but staying quiet felt worse. Alone again in that rain-soaked room, JD finally picked up his phone and typed a message he had rehearsed 1,000 times. "We need to talk, publicly," he wrote. His finger hovered over send, the weight of the moment pressing down. Memories of laughter with Erika, arguments with family, and the roar of public opinion all collided in his mind. When he finally pressed send, there was no turning back. Across town, Erika read the message and felt a mix of relief and dread. "So this is it," she whispered, knowing that whatever came next would redefine her life. She braced herself for judgment, for support, for chaos. Fans were shocked when hints of an upcoming statement leaked, speculation exploding overnight. Emotions ran high as everyone waited for answers, unaware that the truth would be messier than any rumor. As dawn approached, JD sat watching the sky lighten, exhausted but resolute. He knew that opening up would not fix everything, that some wounds would remain raw, some relationships forever changed. But he also knew that the story was no longer just about him. It was about Erika, about family, about trust fractured and tested. And as the first rays of sunlight broke through the clouds, he prepared to finally say what really happened, setting the stage for revelations that would leave everyone questioning what they thought they knew. The announcement did not come with details, only a date and a time, but it was enough to send shockwaves through every corner of the internet. Fans refreshed pages obsessively, commentators speculated wildly, and group chats lit up with theories that grew more dramatic by the hour. JD felt the pressure immediately. His phone would not stop vibrating, and every notification felt like another demand for truth. He tried to focus on breathing, on grounding himself, but the weight of expectation was crushing. "This is bigger than I thought," he muttered, rubbing his temples as memories flooded back faster than he could process them. The morning of the statement arrived with a strange calm. No rain, no noise, just an eerie stillness that made everything feel suspended in time. JD sat at the kitchen table, coffee untouched, staring at the wall as if it might offer answers. His spouse moved quietly around him, tension hanging thick in the air. Finally, she spoke. "Whatever you say today," she said carefully, "it's going to change things." JD nodded, voice low. "I know, I just hope it doesn't destroy everything." Her silence was heavy, filled with questions she was no longer sure she wanted answered. Across town, Erika was pacing her apartment, rehearsing responses to questions no one had officially asked yet. Friends were texting encouragement, warnings, advice that contradicted itself. "Be honest," one said. "Protect yourself," said another. Erika stopped pacing and stared at her reflection. "I just want them to know I'm human," she whispered. The thought of millions of strangers dissecting her life made her stomach twist, but she refused to be invisible anymore. Emotions ran high, but beneath the fear was a quiet determination. When JD finally stepped in front of the cameras, the room buzzed with anticipation. Reporters leaned forward, pens poised, cameras blinking like watchful eyes. He took a deep breath, hands clasped tightly. "I know there have been a lot of rumors," he began, voice steady but strained. "And I owe it to my family, and to all of you, to address them." Fans watching online held their breath. Comments poured in faster than anyone could read, predictions and accusations colliding in real time. He spoke slowly, choosing words with care, describing a connection that began innocently and grew complicated. He admitted to emotional closeness, to confiding in someone outside his marriage during a time of immense pressure. Gasps rippled through the room. "But I want to be clear," he added, "there are narratives out there that are simply not true." That sentence alone sparked a frenzy. Fans were shocked, some feeling vindicated, others betrayed. Emotions ran high as people latched onto every syllable. As JD spoke, Erika watched the live stream from her couch, heart pounding. Some of his words resonated deeply, others stung. When he described her as someone who offered understanding when I felt isolated, tears welled in her eyes. "That's all I ever tried to do," she whispered. But when he emphasized boundaries, her jaw tightened. "It wasn't that simple," she murmured, frustration bubbling over. Questions followed, sharp and relentless. "Did you cross a line?" one reporter pressed. JD hesitated, the pause louder than any answer. "I crossed emotional boundaries," he admitted finally. "And for that, I take responsibility." The room erupted with murmurs. Online, clips of that moment spread instantly, captions declaring it a confession, a turning point. The family was left divided, watching from different rooms, each reacting differently to his words. After the statement ended, the fallout was immediate. Supporters praised JD for his honesty, calling it brave. Critics accused him of minimizing the truth. Erika's name trended again, this time alongside phrases like, her side, and, untold story. Friends urged her to respond quickly. Now is your moment, one said. Erika stared at her phone, torn. Speaking out could clarify things, but it could also ignite a fire she couldn't control. She decided to meet JD privately before making any public move. The meeting was tense, held in a quiet office away from cameras. When JD entered, Erika stood up slowly, eyes searching his face. So that's your truth, she said softly. JD met her gaze. It's my part of it, he replied. The air between them was thick with unspoken words. You made it sound so clean, Erika said, voice trembling. Like feelings just happened in a vacuum. JD sighed. I was trying to protect everyone. She shook her head. You protected yourself. The accusation hung heavy. Emotions ran high as years of bottled-up frustration spilled out. Erika spoke of nights waiting for replies, of feeling like a secret she never agreed to be. JD listened, guilt etched across his face. I never wanted to hurt you, he said quietly. Erika laughed bitterly. Intent doesn't erase impact. That line would later be quoted endlessly when rumors of their meeting leaked. Fans were shocked by the intensity of the reported confrontation, and speculation reached new heights. After they parted, Erika knew she could no longer stay silent. She drafted a statement late into the night, rewriting it again and again. She refused to attack JD directly, but she refused to be minimized. When she finally posted it, the response was explosive. I was never just a footnote, she wrote. I was a person with feelings, hopes, and trust. Within minutes, the post was everywhere. Public opinion fractured further. Some praised Erika's courage, others accused her of seeking attention. The family was left divided again, now reacting to her words as well as Jade's. His spouse confronted him once more, tears flowing freely this time. Why didn't you tell me it went that deep, she asked. JD had no answer that could ease the pain. Behind closed doors, crisis meetings took place. Advisors debated strategy, urging silence, rebuttals, apologies. JD felt trapped between competing narratives, each demanding allegiance. This isn't about politics anymore, he snapped during one meeting. This is my life. But the line between the two had blurred beyond recognition. Erika faced her own backlash. Strangers sent messages ranging from supportive to vicious. She tried to focus on the ones that mattered, messages from women thanking her for speaking up, for refusing to be erased. You're not alone, one message read, and it brought her to tears. Despite the chaos, she felt a strange sense of relief. The truth, even messy, felt lighter than silence. As days passed, new twists emerged. Anonymous sources leaked texts, fragments taken out of context, fueling more speculation. JD denied some, confirmed others, each clarification spawning more questions. Fans were shocked at how deep the saga seemed to go. Emotions ran high as trust eroded on all sides. Late one evening, JD sat alone again, scrolling through endless commentary. He stopped at a message from a longtime supporter. I don't know what to believe anymore. That uncertainty struck him harder than any accusation. He realized that no matter how much he explained, some damage could not be undone. Meanwhile, Erika received an unexpected call from a journalist promising a fair platform for her full story. She hesitated, remembering how quickly narratives twisted, but she also knew that half-truths had already filled the void. As she agreed to the interview, she felt the weight of what was coming, sensing that the story was far from over and that the next revelations would push everyone involved to a breaking point. The interview was scheduled for a quiet Sunday evening, a time when most people were home scrolling, receptive, and ready to judge. Erika sat under the studio lights, hands folded tightly in her lap, feeling exposed yet resolute. The journalist leaned in, voice gentle but probing. People say this story has two sides, he began, but others believe there's a third side no one's heard yet. Is that what you're here to share? Erika swallowed hard and nodded. I'm here to share my truth, she said, and in that moment fans watching from home felt the tension spike. Emotions ran high even before she spoke another word. She described the early days again, but this time with details she had kept to herself. The long conversations that stretched past midnight, the sense of being seen and understood, the promises that were never explicitly made but deeply felt. It wasn't just emotional, she said carefully. It was intimate in ways people don't always recognize. The internet reacted instantly. Clips spread within minutes, captions screaming that everything had changed. Fans were shocked, some defending her, others accusing her of exaggeration. The divide grew deeper with every passing second. JD watched the interview from his office, advisors urging him to turn it off. You don't need to see this, one said. But he couldn't look away. Hearing Erika describe moments he remembered differently stirred a storm of regret and defensiveness. "That's not how it was," he muttered, yet even as he said it, doubt crept in. Memories are slippery, and emotions color them in ways facts never can. The family was left divided again, some urging JD to respond immediately, others begging him to stop feeding the fire. As the interview continued, Erika addressed the accusations head-on. "I never set out to hurt anyone," she said, voice breaking. "But I won't carry blame for choices that weren't mine alone." That line ignited another wave of debate. Supporters praised her for reclaiming her narrative, while critics accused her of shifting responsibility. Emotions ran high across social media, timelines filling with arguments that grew increasingly personal. The next morning headlines screamed about contradictions, timelines, and alleged receipts. Anonymous insiders claimed new revelations were coming, hinting at meetings and messages yet unseen. Jade's advisors scrambled, drafting statements and counterstatements. "We need to regain control," one insisted. JD slammed his hand on the table. "Control of what?" he snapped. "A mess I helped create." The room fell silent. It was the first time he openly acknowledged his role without qualifiers. At home, the atmosphere was unbearable. Jade's spouse confronted him yet again, exhaustion replacing anger. "I don't recognize our life anymore," she said quietly. Jade's eyes filled with tears. "Neither do I," he replied. They spoke for hours, revisiting old wounds, questioning whether trust could be rebuilt. The family was left divided not just by opinion, but by pain, each person processing the fallout differently. Erika, meanwhile, faced consequences of her own. Her employer requested a meeting, concerned about the attention she was drawing. Friends who once encouraged her to speak now worried about her safety. "This has gone too far," one said. Erika nodded, feeling the weight of public scrutiny pressing down harder each day. Yet despite the fear, she refused to retract her words. "If I go quiet now," she said, "then everything I said loses meaning." Another twist emerged when leaked messages surfaced online, screenshots whose authenticity was immediately questioned. Some appeared to support Erika's account, others seemed to contradict it. JD denied recognizing several of them, while Erika confirmed some but not all. Confusion reigned. Fans were shocked by how murky everything had become, with truth and speculation intertwining beyond separation. Emotions ran high as people chose which fragments to believe. Late one night, JD decided to reach out to Erika again, not through intermediaries or statements, but directly. "We need to talk, without cameras," he texted. Hours passed before a reply came. "Only if it's honest," Erika wrote back. They agreed to meet in a neutral space, no advisors, no recording devices. When they sat across from each other, the tension was palpable. "I never meant to make you feel disposable," JD began, voice heavy. Erika looked at him, eyes tired. "Intent keeps coming up," she said. "But impact is what lives with me." They spoke openly for the first time in months, acknowledging missteps, misunderstandings, and moments where silence did more damage than truth. It wasn't reconciliation, but it was clarity. Both left the meeting changed, aware that whatever happened next would echo far beyond them. News of the meeting leaked within days, sparking another wave of speculation. Was it closure, or damage control? Commentators argued endlessly. Some claimed it proved ongoing involvement, others saw it as an attempt at peace. Fans were shocked by how the story refused to settle, each development opening new questions instead of answers. JD released a brief follow-up statement, expressing regret and asking for privacy. It satisfied almost no one. Critics called it vague, supporters called it necessary. Erika chose silence this time, stepping back from interviews, focusing on rebuilding her own sense of normalcy. But the public didn't let go so easily. Theories multiplied, each more dramatic than the last. As weeks passed, the intensity shifted but never disappeared. The saga became a case study, a cautionary tale dissected on podcasts and panels. JD felt his public image permanently altered, no longer defined solely by his career but by this deeply personal controversy. Erika grappled with being known primarily for a chapter of her life she never asked to be famous for. One evening, JD sat with a trusted friend who asked quietly, "If you could change one thing, what would it be?" JD stared into the distance. "I would have spoken sooner," he said. Silence made everything worse. Those words lingered, hinting at lessons learned too late. As for Erika, she wrote in a private journal, reflecting on how easily narratives consume people. "They think this is entertainment," she wrote, "but it's our lives." That sentiment resonated with many who had followed the story, prompting a rare moment of collective pause. Yet even as the noise softened, unresolved questions remained. Trust was fractured, relationships strained, reputations altered. The story had evolved beyond simple accusations into something more complex and unsettling. And as both sides tried to move forward, it became clear that the consequences of what really happened were still unfolding, setting the stage for even deeper revelations to come. The quiet did not last. Just when it seemed like the story might finally lose momentum, a new ripple moved through the public sphere, subtle at first, then impossible to ignore. A former acquaintance stepped forward, someone who claimed to have been present during key moments early on. "There are things neither of them are saying," the source hinted, and that single sentence reignited everything. Fans were shocked all over again, emotions ran high, and the fragile calm shattered overnight. JD woke up to dozens of missed calls. Advisors spoke in urgent tones, warning him that the narrative was slipping further out of his control. "If this person talks, it reframes everything," one said. JD closed his eyes, exhaustion etched deep into his face. "Everyone keeps reframing," he replied bitterly. "When does it stop?" But stopping was no longer an option. The story had taken on a life of its own, feeding on speculation and half-truths. Erika learned about the new source through a friend's frantic message. Her stomach dropped. She had spent weeks trying to rebuild some sense of normalcy, to exist outside the shadow of headlines. Now it felt like the ground was shifting again beneath her feet. "I can't keep reliving this," she whispered, tears threatening. Yet she knew silence could once more be twisted into guilt. The emotional toll was undeniable, and the weight of public judgment pressed harder than ever. The source's interview aired in fragments, carefully edited and strategically released. They spoke of late-night gatherings, charged conversations, and moments where lines were blurred long before anyone realized it. Nothing was explicitly proven, yet the implications were explosive. Fans dissected every word, slowing down footage, comparing timelines. Emotions ran high as old arguments resurfaced with renewed intensity. Jade's family reacted with a mix of anger and despair. One relative accused him outright. "You let this spiral," they said. Another defended him fiercely. "They're all vultures," they argued. The family was left divided yet again, drawn into a battle they never asked to fight. Dinners became battlegrounds of silence or shouting, with no middle ground left. Behind closed doors, JD made a decision that surprised even his closest advisors. He agreed to a longer, unscripted conversation, not with a hostile interviewer, but with someone known for nuance. No edits, he insisted. No sound bites. The risk was enormous, but JD felt he had nothing left to protect except whatever truth remained unspoken. When the date was announced, anticipation surged. Fans were shocked that he would expose himself further, while critics predicted disaster. Erika watched the announcement with mixed feelings. Part of her hoped it would finally end the cycle, another part feared it would reopen wounds she was barely holding together. Friends urged her to prepare a response just in case. "Don't get blindsided," they warned. Erika nodded, though inside she was tired of preparing for storms that never seemed to pass. The conversation aired in a simple setting, no dramatic lighting, no audience. JD spoke for hours, reflecting on ambition, pressure, and the cost of emotional shortcuts. He acknowledged moments where he chose comfort over clarity, silence over honesty. "I thought I was protecting people," he said, voice low. "But I was also protecting myself." That admission sent shockwaves through viewers. Fans were shocked by the vulnerability, and for a brief moment, the noise softened into something resembling empathy. Yet not everyone was convinced. Critics accused him of calculated remorse, supporters argued he was finally being real. Emotions ran high once again, debates raging across platforms. Erika listened carefully, noting what was said and what was still avoided. When he spoke of regret without naming her directly, she felt both relieved and erased. "I exist," she said quietly to no one, the familiar ache returning. The next twist came unexpectedly. A family member of Erika's broke their silence, posting a heartfelt message about watching someone they loved be reduced to a headline. It wasn't accusatory, but it was deeply personal. "She didn't ask for this," the message read. "And she's been paying the price every day." Fans were shocked by the rawness, and for the first time, many reconsidered the human cost behind the drama. JD reached out privately after reading it, not to defend himself but to acknowledge the pain. "I see it now," he wrote. Erika hesitated before responding. "Seeing it doesn't undo it," she replied, but she appreciated the honesty. The exchange remained private, yet its impact was real. For both, it marked a subtle shift from conflict to accountability. Public interest slowly began to fracture. Some moved on to the next scandal, others remained deeply invested. The story no longer dominated every feed, but it lingered like an unresolved chord. The family was left divided still, but conversations grew less explosive, more reflective. Exhaustion replaced outrage. Erika focused on reclaiming her narrative outside the controversy. She returned to routines that grounded her, limiting her exposure to commentary. "I am more than this," she reminded herself daily. Messages from strangers thanking her for resilience helped, but scars remained. Emotions ran high internally, even as the external noise faded. JD, too, faced lasting consequences. Trust had to be rebuilt slowly, both publicly and privately. He accepted that some relationships would never return to what they were. "This changed me," he admitted to a confidant. "I don't get to be the same person after this." That realization was sobering, yet oddly freeing. Months passed, and while new developments still surfaced occasionally, the frenzy dulled. What remained were lessons, unresolved questions, and a trail of altered lives. Fans who once craved constant updates now debated what accountability truly looked like. The story had evolved from sensational drama into something heavier, more complex. And even as both sides tried to step forward, it became clear that the past could not be neatly closed. It lingered in quiet moments, in guarded conversations, in the knowledge that some truths arrived too late to prevent damage. The fallout was no longer explosive, but it was enduring, and everyone involved felt its weight as the saga moved quietly toward its next, uncertain chapter. The uncertainty lingered like a low hum in the background of everyday life, never loud enough to dominate every moment but impossible to ignore. JD felt it when he walked into rooms and conversations paused just a second too long, when smiles came a beat late, when people studied his face as if searching for cracks. He had learned to live with scrutiny, but this was different. This was personal, and the line between public judgment and private reckoning had dissolved completely. Emotions ran high even in the quietest moments, when there was no one else to perform for. Erika experienced a similar shift, though hers was quieter, more internal. She noticed how friends chose words more carefully around her, how invitations became tentative. Some people disappeared altogether, unsure how to navigate the shadow that followed her name. Others grew closer, fiercely protective. "They don't get to define you," one friend insisted during a late-night call. Erika wanted to believe that, but some days it felt like the story had wrapped itself around her identity, tightening whenever she tried to move forward. Another unexpected twist came from an unlikely place. A former advisor of Jade's, someone who had stayed silent through the chaos, released a vague but pointed message online. It didn't name names or offer specifics, but it suggested that decisions made early on had prioritized optics over honesty. Fans were shocked by the implication. Emotions ran high again as people speculated about who had been steering the narrative behind the scenes. Was JD a calculated manipulator, or a man poorly advised during a personal crisis? The debate reignited with fresh intensity. JD read the message late at night and felt a familiar knot in his stomach. He knew exactly what the advisor was referring to. Meetings where truth was weighed against consequences, where the question wasn't what was right but what was survivable. "We thought we were buying time," JD admitted privately to a confidant. "We were actually selling trust." That realization settled heavily on him, a truth he could no longer avoid. The family felt the ripple effects too. Conversations shifted from blame to fatigue. One evening, a relative finally said what everyone had been thinking. "We're tired of fighting about this," they said quietly. "We just want peace." The family was left divided still, but the sharp edges had dulled. Anger gave way to grief for the simplicity they had lost. Erika faced a difficult decision when a book publisher reached out, offering her a chance to tell her story in full. The offer was tempting, not for fame but for control. "This could be closure," the editor said. Erika wrestled with the idea for weeks. Speaking again meant reopening wounds, inviting scrutiny back into her life. But staying silent meant letting others define the ending. Emotions ran high as she weighed the cost of each option. Meanwhile, JD attempted to focus on his work, throwing himself into routine as a distraction. Some praised his resilience, others accused him of hiding behind professionalism. Nothing he did seemed neutral anymore. Even mundane actions were interpreted as statements. Fans were shocked by how deeply the saga colored every aspect of his presence, and commentators questioned whether true separation between personal and public life was even possible anymore. The tension between JD and Erika remained unresolved, a quiet ache beneath the surface. They no longer communicated directly, but traces of each other appeared everywhere. A phrase in an interview, a timing coincidence, a shared memory reframed by strangers. Erika sometimes wondered if closure was a myth people invented to make pain seem manageable. "Maybe some things just fade," she wrote in her journal, "they don't end, they soften." Another wave of attention came when a panel discussion featured experts debating the situation as a cultural moment rather than a scandal. They spoke about power dynamics, emotional labor, and the cost of silence. Erika watched clips from the panel and felt seen in ways headlines never allowed. JD watched too, uncomfortable but reflective. Hearing their experiences abstracted into theory was surreal, yet oddly clarifying. The story was no longer just theirs, it had become symbolic. Fans were divided once more, though the tone had shifted. Outrage gave way to analysis. Emotions still ran high, but there was more listening than shouting. Some viewers admitted they had rushed to judgment. Others doubled down. The internet never fully forgets, it only reorganizes its focus. Erika eventually declined the book deal, choosing instead a quieter form of expression. She began volunteering, immersing herself in spaces where her name meant nothing. It grounded her, reminding her that life existed beyond algorithms and commentary. "I needed to remember who I was before all this," she told a friend. That rediscovery was slow and imperfect, but it gave her strength. JD confronted his own need for reinvention. He sought counseling, something he had once dismissed as unnecessary. Sessions were difficult, forcing him to unpack patterns of avoidance and control. "I thought being strong meant handling everything alone," he admitted during one session. "Now I see how isolating that was." The work was uncomfortable, but it felt honest in a way public statements never could. As time moved forward, the story receded from daily headlines, replaced by newer dramas. Yet its imprint remained. Occasional articles revisited it, anniversaries sparked brief flurries of discussion. Fans who had followed every twist now spoke of it with a mix of fascination and weariness. Emotions ran high less often, but when they did, they were tinged with reflection rather than rage. One final unexpected moment brought JD and Erika into the same space again, not by choice but circumstance. A mutual acquaintances event, unavoidable in public. They acknowledged each other with a brief nod, nothing more. Observers dissected the interaction endlessly, but for them, it was simply a quiet recognition of shared history. No words were exchanged, yet the moment carried weight. Later that night, Erika reflected on how far she had come from the woman waiting anxiously for messages, afraid of being invisible. JD reflected too, recognizing the cost of delayed honesty. Neither felt triumphant, but both felt changed. The story that once consumed them no longer defined every breath, though it would always be part of their narrative. And as the world continued to move on, the unanswered questions lingered softly, not demanding resolution but reminding everyone involved that some truths reshape lives without offering neat conclusions. The drama had lost its explosive edge, but its impact endured, quietly setting the stage for whatever came next. Now that you've heard every shocking twist, the unanswered questions are bigger than ever. Was the truth fully revealed, or are there still secrets waiting to come out? Fans are still divided, emotions are still raw, and the fallout may not be over yet. Now it's your turn. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more explosive updates, and comment below with your opinion. Whose side are you on, and what do you think really happened? Your voice matters, so join the conversation now.